All right, let's bring in Will Perdue, Comcast Sportsnet Chicago analyst for the Bulls, pre- and post-game, and, of course, had a long NBA career. Will, good to have you on. How are you?
Well, Dan, I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Is Tim Duncan boring or private?
Oh, he's definitely not boring. I can promise you that much. I'd say he's more private, and I just think that he's not one that's entertained, or he doesn't look to entertain outside of his inner circle.
You were with him, his first 2 years in the league?
Yes, sir.
Did you know how long did it take before you went, oh boy, that guy is really good?
Well, I always tell the story that when I first got to San Antonio, we used to always have training camp in Austin at the University of Texas. So the night before, we would all meet, jump on the bus, take the bus for the hour ride down to Austin. And I remember David Robinson and I sitting on the bus talking, and not in a bad way, but just like, hey, going to make sure young fella here earns it. We understand he's the first pick in the draft, but we're just, as David said, we're not going to hand him anything. We're going to make him deserve it. And he comes in the first day. He's wearing his shorts backwards. He doesn't say much. You kind of want to walk up to him and wave your hands in front of his eyes and be like, is anything registering in there? And then all of a sudden, about after 4 practices, which back then it's 2-a-days, I remember David and I were at lunch. We're like, I think we're going to be okay. This guy's good.
What was he like off the court, though?
Well, I sent out a tweet, and I mentioned the second word I used was prankster. He's a very quiet guy, but as I always said, he would be the guy, and some people go, oh, man, how immature. This has nothing to do with immaturity. This just has to be with him kind of livening the situation. He'd be the dude that would steal your underwear, get it all wet, throw it in the freezer. He'd be the guy that would take a bag of Oreos, stick them on your car, or in my case, back then when cell phones and everything were still fairly new, he would, unbeknownst to you, steal your cell phone, put some funky girlish ring on it, and then go behind a wall and just keep calling you. So the ringer would keep making that noise, and, of course, you had no idea how to turn it off.
I had a conversation yesterday, a discussion yesterday, where, Duncan's labeled the greatest power forward of all time, which Tim Duncan's one of the great players of all time. I have a little bit of a problem with the power forward designation here, Will. If you spend half your career as a center and half as a power forward, you can't be the greatest power forward of all time.
Well, let's not forget, he also spent half a season playing the 3 spot.
Okay.
Remember 1 year, everybody got hurt. I played the 5, David played the 4, and Timmy played the 3, and we had the triple towers. And we had some success with that, but that was just because of, an injury to Sean Elliott. Now, when Sean came back, that wasn't the case, but I agree with you. I think he's one of the best players of all time. I think it's very difficult to just label him as the power forward, because I honestly feel like when he first came in the league, he played power forward, but as he got older and the team changed, he moved into the center spot, and I would say he might have played more center than he did power forward, meaning he played more with his career with his back to the basket than actually facing the basket.
Would you rather have Kobe's career or Tim Duncan's career?
I mean, I've seen all the stats on that, and that's like 6, one half dozen the other. Let me just say this. I'll gladly raise my hand and say, hey, I'll take either. But I tell you, the one thing was that Tim's career was a lot less turbulent.
Yeah.
There was a lot less drama, and that's exactly how Timmy wanted it. I'm not saying that Kobe wanted the drama, but a lot of times he was in it, he created it, and he stirred it up.
Talking to Will Perdue, Comcast Sportsnet Chicago, former Bull and Spur. How about if I put Tim in with the other centers, where does he rank? If he's the greatest power forward, where is he as a center all time?
Well, see, that's the thing where I agree with you. I don't just call him a power forward. I know a lot of people want to label him the best power forward of all time, but that right there just leads to the old adage that your mom used to tell you, the first impression is the lasting impression, because when he first came to San Antonio, David played center. He played power forward. But even then, I think if you go back and really look at the film, will tell you, because of David's injuries, he became more effective as a power forward than he did as a center because Tim could play center. But to answer your question specifically, I would go maybe Kareem 1, Elijah 2, Duncan 3. I mean, I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, and there's going to be one of your listeners is emailing as we speak or texting going, well, that guy's nuts.
What about Shaq?
Well, let me back up and say Shaq 3, Timmy 4, but that's the point now. I'm getting old enough where I'm forgetting about more guys than I can remember.
I saw this story. I knew Steve Kerr got punched by Jordan. I didn't realize you got punched by Jordan. Is it like a long list of teammates who got punched by Jordan?
Well, I only know 2 personally. Now, I don't know if somebody did before I got there, but I always used to tell the story. I mean, it's not something I was proud of, but it was just I was doing what I was asked to do. You know, one of the things that people don't understand is that, you know, it's one of 82 games. When you play an opponent and you have a day of practice, you know, the second team. And in that case, at that time of my career, I was, you know, still early in the league, but it was B.J. Armstrong, myself, Greg Hodges, Stacey King, Dennis Hobson. You know, we'd go down to the other end and run the opponent's team's high-frequency plays. Johnny Bach was our defensive guru, and we'd go through their plays, and then we'd go run it against the starting 5. And one of the things, and I forgot who it was against, it might have been against Milwaukee. They kept saying, hey, the one thing that they're going to do is they're going to continue to run screen roll on Michael to try to wear him out. So we kept running screen roll. And I wouldn't say my screens were always legal, but I made sure I laid some wood on him, and he got mad. And he finally turned around and he goes, listen, you guys do that again, I'm going to take it upon myself to do something about it. We looked at Johnny Bach, and he goes, run it again. So we ran it again, and I had a feeling, I was like, I think I'm going to pay the price for this. So I think I might have been moving, but I got my money's worth and knocked him down. And when he got back up, I thought he was just going to get in my face, but he took a swing and connected. And then once I regained my thoughts, I started to chase him around the gym, but they grabbed me and said, it's not worth it. You got to realize who you're chasing.
Did Jordan deck you?
No, he didn't deck me. I mean, he dazed me. And I have to admit, he realized he made a mistake. Because a lot of people are like, what do you mean he ran from it? I said, well, you know, when a guy gets pissed, he's like, all right, I'm going to take it out on you. He didn't want to get into an altercation. He felt like he got his message across. I think he realized he made a mistake, and he also apologized later.
Could you have taken Jordan?
Listen, I don't know how many guys out there are like, oh, yeah, man, I was a badass fighter when I was young. Most of the guys, as you know, in the NBA, it's more of a wrestling match than anything else. First takedown wins, kind of like in hockey.
Could you have taken Jordan?
Well, I had the length on him, but he was a lot quicker than me. So I have a feeling that, I might have gotten a few shots, but I may have not gotten the best of them.
I'll leave you with this. The commissioner is going to kind of tweak the hacka strategy here. Whatever happened to an intentional foul, Will, that if I am intentionally fouling you, why not just call it as an intentional foul with free throws and you keep the ball? Why do we allow those fouls to happen when it is an intentional foul?
I don't know. It's a valid point that, there's so many different angles you can take on this, and then you start talking about, well, you need to be a better free throw shooter. But, as the game evolves and as the fans that watch the game evolve, I feel like there are some changes that need to be made. I don't necessarily agree with this from a player standpoint, but from a rating standpoint, from the ability to make it more watchable, I feel like something had to be done, and I feel like it's a step in the right direction.
It sounds diplomatic there, Will.
Well, the thing is, you got to understand, there's so many opportunities for people to A, spend their money, B, sports to watch. So I feel like you got to stay ahead of the curve, and if that means making some tweaks to the game, then do it. I mean, I personally love baseball as it is, but the ratings are declining. Attendance is declining, so I feel like if baseball wants to stay alive, they have to make some changes, whether I, as an individual, agree with it or not.
Yeah, but that's like saying, hey, we can't get Bryce Harper out, so we're going to walk him every time. Instead of you being better, now because he's better than you take him out of the game. No.
Yeah, but wasn't Joe Madden just called a genius for doing that?
I didn't like it. I understand you're trying to win, but that's not why I'm watching a game. If you want me, you care about me as a fan, the commissioner's got to, factor that in. Could you have gone out of your way and just said, hey, we're going to throw pitches out of the strike zone here? Yeah, you could have done it. It's semantics. You can pitch around him, but, that's a problem. That's a problem in baseball. I can take you out of the game. I can have you go watch Bryce Harper or Mike Trout, and I can take him out of the game, and you can't do anything about it.
Well, I agree with you, but at the same time, if you ask me, and I'm showing my age, that's kind of our society. We want instant gratification. So if I'm paying big money to go see Bryce Harper, and then you end up walking him 4 times, well, I'm going to tweet about it because I'm not happy because I spent all this money. But then again, we can also get into the argument about resting players during an 82-game season.
Oh, you're taking a shot at the Spurs and your former coach.
Oh, I'm not taking a shot at the Spurs.
It feels like it, yeah. It feels like you're taking a shot at Popovich.
No, I would never take a shot at Popovich because he owns a winery and I'd like some.
Who would you be more scared of, angering Jordan or Popovich?
Well, considering that I'm out of the league, so I don't have to worry about trying to ask Jordan to sign me to a contract, I'd probably be more afraid of Popovich.
Yeah.
I think what people forget is that, being a military guy, he was one of those guys that was trained to, go overseas and disappear and be a spy. So I think there's certain things he knows about you that just scare the hell out of you.
Is Pop the number 1 seed if there's a fight among NBA coaches?
Well, I tell you what. Well, he's not the youngest, but there's probably – I don't think Pop would hesitate to take a quick knee to somebody's groin. And he would say, hey, we'd worry about the gentleman's aspect later.
Now, is that a flagrant 1 or a flagrant 2? Because I'm not quite sure.
Well, and since we're talking about Timmy, I'm sure he would look at the official like Timmy does and say, I don't understand what you're talking about. Yeah. I did nothing.
Yeah. Hey, great to talk to you again, Will. As always, thanks for joining us.
And I enjoyed it, man. Thank you very much.
That's Will Perdue.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.